Shocking. Let's go straight to the front pages of the dailies. I'm starting with Vanguard. Vanguard is leading with use June 12 as lesson to drive Nigeria's development. That's coming from Edwin Clark, IBB, ATIKU, OBI, and others. Tinubu addresses the nation today. Activists protest high cost of living. Meet at Abiola's Ikeja home. Nigeria should be crisis free. That's coming from Clark. Democracy in bondage in Nigeria. Incumbents must stop influencing polls. That's coming from ATIKU. Gains of June 12 can deepen our democracy. That's coming from IBB. Annulment, a tragic mistake. Jerry GANA is saying that. You can see that story on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. And still on Vanguard, we have Don't Take Democracy for Granted. Tinubu warns. On page 8, failed transactions. Banks, others trade blames as customers' agony persists. Failed subsidy. School owners groan, seek government assistance. That can be seen on page 9, on page 12, under Financial Vanguard. Economic uncertainties. Insecurity drive up life insurance. Life policy rises 18.2%. Trend to continue as economic downturn persists. That's coming from operators. On page 12, NMDPRA accuses ExxonMobil of oil theft. 10 Senates plot to stop Yari thickens as more senators back his ambition. On sports, Djokovic seals record 23rd Grand Slam title. That can be seen on page 31. And lastly, on Vanguard newspaper, 30 years after June 12 annulment, shocking revelations. The writer says what Nigerians must know about the plot. 103 decrees promulgated in 1993 alone to regulate elections. Security chief stuns NEC chairman. Oh, is there going to be an election? Our effort to give Nigeria the best election, that's coming from Professor Humphrey Wosu. And lastly, on page 13, Professor Yakubu's promise that crashed. Away from Vanguard, let's move to the Punch newspaper. The Punch this morning is leading with Democracy Day. Tinubu hails MKO Abiola, promises to ease subsidy removal pains. That can be seen on page 2. And lastly, on the Punch newspaper, over $56 billion loss to oil theft subsidy. That's coming from advisory panel. You can see that on page 4 of the Punch newspaper. And the Nation this morning is leading with June 12. Why we must defend our democracy by Tinubu. Expect better deal from me. Judicial reform has started. Abiola's sacrifice should not be in vain. This story can be seen on pages 33, 4, 5, 49, 50, and 51. Subsidy palliatives, more buses for Oyo State, free ride for pupils in Kwara. That can be seen on page 5. Shetima's last-minute push swings support for Akpabio and Abbas. We have 72 senators elect hopeful. That can be seen on page 8. My Nigeria Air Story by ex-minister Sirika. Ministry got only 3 billion naira. That's coming from lawmaker. 5% equity claim, a lie. Lastly, on the front page of the Nation's newspaper, Emefiele's exit and the fireworks before suspension. This can be seen on pages 2 and 3 of the Nation newspaper. Lastly, let's move to The Guardian. The Guardian is leading with 30 years after, pro-democracy activists remind Tinubu of June 12 ideals. You can see that on page 6. And on page 3, we have daunting expectations from Shonubu as CBN house cleaning begins. DSS lacks power to investigate, prosecute Emefiele, says Falana. Now can be seen on page 3, stories above 60 years after. Reality of United Africa hampered by xenophobia, says reports. That can be seen on page 6. June 12, Tinubu admirers and critics. That can be seen on page 4. Lastly, on the Guardian newspaper, Nigeria's democracy imperfect but has scored gains, says European Union. That can be seen on page 3. And that's all we have on the front pages of the dailies this morning. Join us after the break for the analysis. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Today the News on Vanguard Live. My name is Damola Ogunshaki. As Nigerians celebrate the 30th anniversary of the June 12, 1993 presidential poll, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has said that Nigerians must never take democracy for granted, noting that the winner of the June 12, 1993 annulled president election, Chief MKO Abiola, sacrificed his life for it. In his 1,467 word broadcast to the nation on Democracy Day today, Tinubu noted that June, the abortion by military fiat of the decisive victory of Chief Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola of the defunct Social Democratic Party (SDP) in the June 12, 1993 presidential election. Up to that time, the fairest and freest election in the country's political evolution, said the move led to a prolonged struggle that led to the return to democracy in 1999. Tinubu spoke as a host of eminent citizens, have urged leaders to use lessons learned from the annulled historic election to develop the country. Regarded as the fairest and freest presidential election ever conducted in Nigeria, late Chief MKO Abiola was coasting home to victory when it was annulled by former military president General Ibrahim Babangida, thereby throwing Nigeria into socio-political crisis that was partially resolved with the return to civil rule on May 29, 1999. Now known as Democracy Day and celebrated with a public holiday, some eminent Nigerians yesterday said the country could use the lessons of the historic poll to drive socio-economic and political development. Those who spoke included elder statesman, that's Chief Edwin Clark, General Babangida, People's Democratic Party (PDP), 2023 presidential candidate Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, his Labour Party LP counterpart Mr. Peter Obi, and former Minister of Information Professor Jerry GANA, with President Bola Tinubu due to address the nation today. They spoke as activists on the banner of the June 12 movement to have resolved to use the occasion to kick against the subsidy scam and what they described as hardship in the country. The activists organized a road show. They will organize a road show from MKO Abiola's residence to Lagos Airport Road, Ikeja, where they will hold a dialogue. And also to commemorate the 30th anniversary of the June 12 movement of Nigeria, in conjunction with labor and civil society groups, we hold a national democracy dialogue themed June 12, 30 years after, and the 2023 election controversies, the way out for Nigeria. There will also be citizens and civil society interventions on the subsidy scam in Nigeria, according to a statement by Professor Anthony Kila, Chairman, Organizing Committee, Nobel laureate. Professor Yuwole Shoyinka will deliver the keynote address at the dialogue. Speakers expected include the Chief Ayo Adebanjo. Someone we also lead dignitaries to lay a wreath at Abiola's grave and also deliver an address. And noting that 2023 polls had come and gone, those who won today may lose tomorrow. Tinubu said those who cannot endure and accept the pains of electoral defeat do not deserve the joy of victory if the triumph. And that's what the president of Nigeria said. And of course, to read more on his statement, you can get a copy of Vanguard newspaper or just visit our website to read on what they said and the plans for today. Now, let's end this on a lighter note with Mr. and Mrs. And the first person speaking today is Mrs. Mrs. says, the lady has 2 kids for you and your mom confirmed it, yet you want me to believe it's not true. Mr. replied, dear, anything is possible in this era of artificial intelligence. And Mr. replied, if I believe that, then my intelligence is artificial. Definitely, Mr. is just trying to play some wide game with Mrs. But of course, Mrs. is also telling Mr. I understand the game and I'm ready to give you back to back. And this is what we have to draw the curtain today. My name is Damlola Opunshakin. Do want to like and follow us on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. On Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Our WhatsApp number is also displayed on your screen. We also have other shows coming up, so don't go anywhere.